Great break. Now I am very excited to welcome to the stage a man who I love reading his newsletter, talking to him about AI, exploring the human side of AI, Dr. Eric Solomon, the man who is secretly behind a little bit the Spotify Wrapped that you all have in your app right now. And you're going to hear a bit more about his history and his vision for how you can develop a point of view around AI. Eric, take it away.
Oh my God, I can't. Thank you for coming back. I can't compete with booze and music. I mean, that's ridiculous. Thank you guys so much. So this is going to be a little bit story, a little bit workshop, a little bit story. Sound good? So you're going to be interacting with each other. So keep drinking. Okay, so start with story time. Moved to this fine city of New York in 2015 to become the first ever head of the Spotify brand. And I was hired at the Spotify brand, not just from a brand building background, but to help them figure out their AI strategy because they had just acquired Echo Nest, the largest and most incredible music discovery service ever. And we had joined because we were really excited to launch a couple of products that maybe you're a little bit familiar with. Discover Weekly, to this day, Spotify users out there, do you know Discover Weekly? Incredible. It's still like my favorite product out there. And, you know, it eliminated musically knowledgeable boyfriends back in the day, which was pretty great. You know, we also, this was the first year we launched Year in Music, which is now called Wrapped, but this was the first year we finally held up a mirror to everybody using AI to figure out what people were listening to so we could hold up a mirror to them. So that was a great amount of fun. You know, it's really interesting though, because we sat down as soon as we acquired Echo Nest and said, we can't just use AI. We can't just rush to execution. We've got to work across our teams, whether it's design or UX and marketing, to figure out what problem we want to solve. So we all flew out to Stockholm and we met with Daniel Ek and talked through what it is that we wanted to solve together. And it was really simple. Our goal was to deliver personalized experiences to surprise and delight millions of Spotify users in a way that feels unique to every of them. Now it's hundreds of millions of Spotify users, but it was just millions at the time. But, you know, this was the problem that we articulated. And this was something that not a lot of companies were doing at the time, which is articulating the actual problem that AI is supposed to solve for them. What's really interesting is I'd come to Spotify from YouTube, where I helped with AI strategy for lots of brands there, went to over to Spotify, went back to Google to help out with AI there, moved over to lead marketing at Instagram, where I helped with AI strategy there. And then I was the chief marketing officer for Bonobos, where we had to figure out our AI strategy there. So all of this has been great. But in 2018, I left to run my own company, where this is a large part of what I do is help people understand how do you develop a point of view, and how do you develop a point of view that's not just about technology, but also about human beings, because we are the users and the end goal is to have us be the winners here, not just AI. So then COVID-19 happened. You might have remembered that. That was the 3 years where we didn't see each other and we all locked away. That was something, wasn't it? And then, of course, everybody's seen that. It was amazing to me that ChatGPT, it took 5 days to reach 1 million users, where it took everywhere else much longer that I had worked at. So I was pretty jealous at the time. They're now at 180 million users, and who the hell knows what's going to happen right now with Sam Altman? We just don't know. It's going to be crazy out there. I like to say that even though AI is new and AI feels new to us in lots of different ways, this is not our first rodeo with technology and navigating change with technology. Some of you might remember Ask Jeeves. Maybe I'm the only one that remembers Ask Jeeves. There was competition, and we all struggled to figure out how we were going to use these search engines back in the day. So it's not quite analogous, but the idea is that through every technological innovation, there's always stages that we go through, and we go through these stages that are fairly familiar to us across any change whatsoever, which is first we freak the fuck out. Sorry for the language, but we freak out, we panic. And then once we're done panicking, we start to adapt, we get to a new normal, and we get to a stage where we never go back. We can't imagine a world without Web 2.0. We're not going to imagine a world without 3.0. However, in the work that I'm doing now and the conversations that I'm having, I think we're mostly stuck here. We've heard everybody talk about it. Fear is really gripping everybody, and we are in the panic stage. And that's okay. The question is, how do we get past this panic stage? It's been interesting. I work with a lot of CMOs, and just the last week alone, I've pulled, it's getting accustomed to the freak out. Everybody's worried. And then the Cisco survey that shows that only 14% of business leaders feel prepared for this. So if everybody's feeling freaked out, it's because it's not just internally, it's externally. The media is making us freaked out about this too. So it's not just our fault. What I found more than anything is that in every conversation I have, people are rushing to figure out how to execute. How do I build? How do I cram every technological innovation into this tech stack? How do I use generative AI? And that's great. That's really important. But Charles Kettering did not start at GM in year 192. That would have been a really long career. That was 1920. But he had a famous quote that has been misattributed many times: a problem well defined is a problem half solved. And so, this is what I like to think about of what goes into a point of view on AI. And I think it's really three things. And we'll do a little bit of workshopping around these three things. The first is ambition. So we at Spotify sat down and said, what is our ambition in using machine learning and AI to our consumer base? And we said, fans and creators are at the core of everything that we do. So how do we use this as a tool to augment creativity and innovation? Then we said, that's great. We also have to make some ethical commitments. We're going to prioritize data based on our values, which I won't run you through, but we made sure that everything we did was committed to those values. We maintain utmost respect for our creators. We used AI internally to make sure that we were doing our best to promote diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And we made a commitment that we didn't know everything, that we continually needed to learn within the organization. And then the final one, which I'm excited about, because this is where I think a lot of the work is not happening now, is we talked about our commitments internally. We talked to our employees about, this is our point of view on AI. We want to bring you along. And right now, I feel like a lot of people don't have any idea what their leaders are thinking. We held ourselves accountable to them, and we made sure that everything that we did through Echo Nest was not a black box. It was all published, in the external world so that everybody could see it. So this is a little bit of the workshopping that I want to do with you, which is to say, okay, if you could, I didn't have any clue how this room is going to be set up. So if this doesn't make sense, you don't have to pair up with somebody in your left. And certainly if you're on, virtually, you don't have to pair up with anybody. You can just think about this in your own head. But I want you to take a minute. It's going to be a really weird, uncomfortable minute of silence where we're going to think. Imagine that just for a minute. Don't worry. And then I would love for you to talk to somebody, whether it's on your left or somebody else in the room, about one ambition for AI within your company, or if you're not within a company, in your life. What do you want AI to accomplish for you? And you just need a loose idea at this point. So does it make sense what I'm asking? Okay, great. Your minute of thinking starts about now. We need like a Jeopardy theme or something. Okay. Sorry to stop this particular flow, but this is a workshop, so this is not the only time you get to talk to each other. Okay, so you get to talk more in just a second, and then we're going to get a little sharing going on. But you talked about one ambition, hopefully, or you talked about something. It was something interesting. Hopefully, it was ambition oriented. One thing that I'd also want you to do is to think about one ethical commitment. And I realize not everybody loves to think through the ethics of AI, but it's deeply important to think through what's an ethical commitment that you're going to make. So you can either pair up with somebody new, pair up with this person that you paired up with, do it by yourself. I don't care. I just want you to be able to think through, take a few minutes to think through what's one commitment that you could make ethically in your own life or in your business, or yeah, those are the two things. Go for it. I'll give you another few minutes. Yeah. Bringing it back. All right, we're gonna hear for some people that want to share. Did you want to share? You want to share? I don't know. Do we need some microphones for folks that want to share? You don't mind? So we've got one fine gentleman back there who would like to share either ambition or ethical commitment, or both.
Hi everyone, my name is Mehdi. I think in terms of ambitions, I think AI will be a human companion that can help us live longer, healthier, in a more sustainable and more inclusive world.
Amen.
But then in terms of the commitments, in my opinion, the ethical commitments around AI can be categorized into general commitments and general ethics that we make. For instance, we want to limit the LLM to not talk about racism, or we want to make sure that it does not leak our personal, PII or PHI information. However, if we dive deep into the use case, I think the ethics and definitions of ethics will change. For instance, for a law enforcement agency, concerns around security may be much lower than a healthcare provider.
Excellent stuff. Thank you. Anybody else willing to share? Oh, come on, somebody.
Hi. I was mentioning to Ben and Blair that I thought we could use something like Chat GPT today. Whenever we have a plan, we could just type in there, here's my plan. Can you think of anyone this might harm, or some way that this could hurt people? And just get the feedback.
Love it. Anybody else? No pressure, but yeah.
Hi. So as someone who is a company of one, just the idea of having a personal assistant by my side that has the complete knowledge of all of mankind ever is kind of exciting. And to see what I can do with that, also obviously to help me with just everything as far as running my my practice. Ethically speaking, we were talking about just being knowledgeable, knowing that it can be biased, and just being cognizant of that, and just make sure to review the results and keeping that in mind so as to not produce bad results, bad output.
Right. Bad input, bad output. Right. Anybody else? Yeah.
For the commitment, I was just thinking about how do you balance diversity of perspectives with basic values like respect and safety, because AIs, they learn from the world, and in the world there can be many different views, and you want the AI to understand them. But then what do you do when you have things like different political sides that have something with each other, or different like religions or different countries, right? How do you create that representation of everyone, but also assuring that there are basic things like respect and safety and all of that basic values?
Love it. Anybody else?
Hey, also on the commitment side as well. Trace, by the way. I want to expose people to what's possible and what's coming. As futurists and leaders, their impact is our impact as well. So I want to help people to use the new tools to thrive and not be displaced.
Great. I feel like our sharing circle might be done for this workshop component, but I want to really encourage this conversation to continue beyond this room. So I'll wrap up with a few things that may spur how to have this conversation outside of the room. The first is controversial. We were at a dinner last night where the first thing that said out of somebody's mouth was, we should not be thinking of AI as augmented intelligence. And I got very nervous because I have this slide saying, think of AI as augmented intelligence. But what I really mean by that, right, is there are things that humans are really, really good at, and there are things that machines are really, really good at. And I always think, I try to keep things very simple, right? We're really good at making sense of chaos in the world, in our own lives, organizational sense making, all of the chaos that happens. We're really good at making choices based on our subjective values. It's called discernment. We're really good at making changes. By that, we can learn something and then unlearn it to make room for new things. We're really great at those things. Turns out that machines and robots are way better at speed, way better at repetition, way better at personalization, and of course, scale. When thinking about AI strategy and we're thinking about where to play within that, really the problems to solve are going to be in this messy middle where we think about how we as humans help machines. So that could be, for example, how do we eliminate some of the bias by not just having one profile doing the coding and one profile doing all of the management behind it. And then, of course, how do we help? How do machines help us to do what everybody else has said all day, which is free us up to do the higher level, more strategic thinking? So when thinking through where to start with ambitions, thinking through what's in the middle is going to be a fruitful place. The place that I'd want to end this quasi workshop with a room full of people, which is, we call it a workshop. Let's call it a workshop, is to think about what is the one thing above all that it takes to develop a really solid point of view on how you do it. And one thing that appears to be confusing or lacking is this idea of leadership. And by leadership, I don't just mean from boards and from the top. I mean from every part of an organization, no matter where you are within the organization. And to be very specific, the good news is that this is a community of leaders. It's a community of leaders here. It's a community of leaders online. And all of you need to understand that to do this requires having some vision of what you want out of it, right? We're not going to all have the vision that's going to change the world, but what do we want out of this technology? There's been so much talk of fear. This is all that we hear is fear around this, but we all are in this because presumably we love technology. I love technology. It's why I've spent my entire career working in it. So where's the passion behind it? Those things are useless unless there's some persuasion involved, unless we're able to persuade people of the vision and the passion that we have. And then the one that really feels that it's lacking right now, and especially in some pockets of the world and some pockets of maybe some parts of California that maybe are on Sand Hill Road, is humility. Sorry for anybody from there, but think about humility as this line across a page, right? And at any given time in our personal lives and our professional lives, we're either above or below this line at any time. And when we are below this line, we're committed to being right. We're closed and we're defensive. And you see a lot of this right now. Everybody up here has said, we have no freaking idea what this is going to look like tomorrow. 5 months from now, 6 years from now, we just don't have a clue about what it's going to look like. So instead of being below the line and being committed to these things, what if we tried to be not committed to being right, but committed to learning? What if we weren't closed, but open to the possibilities and not being doomsday about it where we don't have to be? And instead of being defensive, if we stayed curious, because that's what's going to lead us into this new world together. So I really, really thank you for your time, and you got this. I know you've all got this.
Thank you, Eric. Absolutely inspiring stuff. And if anyone wants a fun conversation during the next networking hour, ask Eric what he thinks about Mark Andreessen's techno-utopian manifesto from a few weeks ago. You'll have a really good time.